Dear colleagues, good morning. Today is probably one of the most interesting, at least for me, sessions at the Gaidar Forum devoted to the circular economy. It's not just a new stage of economic development, it's possibly a new paradigm of development that breaks the direct tie between the economic growth rates and the consumption of resources in the environment of our planet. Up to until this concept, the planet was developing according to certain standards to achieve the desired economic parameters. In 2016, new concept of the circular economy was designed as one of the new tools to achieve economic goals without overconsumption of environmental resources, increasing the number of secondary resources in consumption. Today, we got here all the stakeholders, Victoria Abramchenko, Deputy Chairman, Prime Minister of the Russian Federation, and Victoria Valerievna precisely is in charge of the new federal project that has been approved by the government last year, circular economy. Dmitry Konov, Chairman of the Management Board of PLC SIBUR, one of the major manufacturers of what can be involved in recycling, and Aleksandar Ruzevic, CEO Coca-Cola Russia. Victoria Valerievna, in the concept that emerged at the end of the 60s last year, for the first time in the work of American economists, there's so-called 3 R's economy: reuse, recycle, and reduce. Currently, there are 2 more R's that we think: rethink and redesign. Rethink is the attitude of consumers towards the circular economy and the mitigating the impact, the anthropogenic impact. And redesign is the concept which means that the manufacturing products should take into account the possibilities of their recycling. So thanks to you, we know, we're aware of what the government is doing under presidential instructions and how much is done in our country in the circular economy within this framework. Thank you, Denis Petrovich, and dear colleagues. I think we are not doing enough so far. Otherwise, we would be able to sum up certain results of this economy today. But let me start from other things. Back in 2015, the Sustainable Development Goals were identified. One of these goals was a transition to the rational model of consumption and a rational model of manufacturing. It's quite an interesting fact that the scientists laid the foundation of this model that should be compatible with the SDGs. If by 2050 the population of the planet reaches 10 billion figure, then no one is will change their habits, their customs, and we will continue to consume everything as we are accustomed to do. That means that we will need 3 times more resources than that are available on planet Earth. That's why we need to rethink our habits and move away from the traditional economy principles, which means extraction and collection of a lot of garbage and waste. And we have to go over to the circular economy. And indeed, under presidential instructions and guidelines, we have made a decision, one of the breakthrough initiatives of social economic development until 2030, to create the circular economy. This is a large-scale project which unites many spheres, many ministers, virtually all constituent subject of the Russian Federation. In the three-year budget, we envisaged more than 200 billion rubles to this effect, and so we now thinking how we're going to implement this project. Those are 6 key principles that we have identified. First of all is reducing waste. Number 2, creating the necessary infrastructure. We see that when we deal with solid municipal waste, unfortunately, we do not have so far capacities to recycle everything. So the economy dictates and has the same demands for infrastructure. Number 3 that we have to pay attention to is packaging. Which is not recycled, unprocessed, and Aleksandar, who has joined us and sits here, so I would like the major representatives of big business would tell us how we can go away from such unecological packaging. So within the framework of the circular economy, we're talking about the environmental education. And we have to start with the consumption culture. Every human being should think about this, no doubt. Neither business, nor separately, nor the state, nor volunteers are capable of changing the situation that we are facing today on the planet. We need common efforts, the society, the state, and the businesses. So currently, precisely the control and administration over all procedures, that is what is needed. So within the framework of the current system, the current responsibility of manufacturers, we see that some people are trying to conceal the real situation from business representatives. Those who are supposed to recycle packaging, they report nicely, but not always the actual volumes are the same. So that's why we need a transparent, mutual, bilateral control and the entire picture of packaging manufacturers and also the work of the state authority. So a system of confidence should be built, relying on modern technologies. As an example that I can cite of such successful cases is the involvement of potential waste in the circular economy. There's just horrible figures regarding waste from subsoil use. 6.5 billion tons is the waste product from subsoil users. Well, of course, these subsoil waste should become a secondary resource. In my view, all these waste products should be used in both reclamation, recultivation, in subsoil industry, extraction industry. Can be used also in construction, for example, railway construction. The second unit implies waste products connected to electronics and white goods. So in the world, this is one of the most fast-growing type of waste products, increasing 2 or 3 times every year. According to data provided by Chinese experts, the production of gold, silver, platinum from electronic gadgets is 3 times more effective compared to what can be extracted from the resources, from the ore. So the work with home appliances, electronics, implies that we need to do that. The next area is my favorite subject, municipal waste, utilities waste. All the consumers once, as far as I remember, oriented businesses towards creating as many comfortable goods as possible. As a result, we have horrendous amount of such terrible packaging, so which immediately becomes solid utilities waste, and a majority of this packaging is, of course, plastic. materials. So, of course, there are technologies to deal with to recycle plastic packaging using secondary sources. What we can do pavements, small architectural formats using this plastic waste, thus creating comfortable and safe urban environment. In 2020, we held several meetings where we were planning to launch this project on the circular economy. First, that we had to focus on is to come out with regulations. And so the relevant acts and regulations have already been prepared by the Russian government, but we need to be ready for that, and there are also some bylaws that are needed for that, so as to provide incentives for producers to make packaging more environmentally friendly and to involve secondary sources in the economic turnover. Three major areas: agriculture, construction industry, and our industry, where the waste products can be used as secondary resources, recycled resources. So that's actually what was approved and is going to be approved in the first quarter 2022. We're also supposed to set up techno parks, so the so-called technological hubs, which will be dealing with recycling and the use of such recycled resources. But we are not only using the new technologies, but we have to analyze the best world practices introducing new technologies. So the relevant R&D should be performed and should be done in 2022. These are the key tasks that we're facing in terms of circular economy. Thank you very much. We face two unique possibilities today. First one is to ask Victoria Valerievna. Victoria Valerievna is my direct boss, as she is in charge of the council in the advisory council on the company which I'm part of. And the second, which was news to me, I can ask a question to myself. But I'm not going to do this right now. Just in addition to what Victoria has just mentioned regarding the circular economy, I would like to say that in accordance with your instructions, we are now working on industry maps. Mapping, so this which creates a huge potential both for existing technologies in all three areas that you mentioned, and also development and design of new projects. I've noticed already that virtually now we are facing, we have a great potential in waste-free recycling and the use of recycled products. So right now, so far as only we're close to 1% of recycling, but that will allow us to reduce the kind of unrecycled products virtually to zero. Talking about construction waste, all countries have demonstrated incredible results. In the United States, for example, in construction waste, it's up to 80% already. And we're talking about the Scandinavian countries, which are leaders in the level of recycling, especially regarding municipal waste. They have reached already about 93% in this area. And also, depending on how the construction process is built, the so-called clean fraction is a multifaceted task, which is quite accessible in construction industry, in particular in glass, composite materials, concrete, solid materials, hard materials, so that will allow us to get some recycled materials, sometimes even more efficient than the original source materials. In the number two, agriculture, as Victoria has not mentioned this, but this is the second area that is within government's control. We do see a huge potential there as well, and so we have focused on major areas also jointly with the Ministry of Agriculture, where we can reach serious goals, including the involvement of everything. First of all, the waste in dairy and farming products, biogas usage, also the plant and cattle breeding, so the growing of main crops in the Russian Federation. We can involve them in the recycling as well, in this reprocessing, where we can expect some interesting products such as textile materials and fodder for animals.
And also the road building, many countries go processing different materials, composite materials, building new asphalt. And the leader in this sphere is India. They built 30,000 kilometers of road of those recycled materials, and we are working on it in Russia. Last year we signed an agreement with a Federal Road Agency, and we will develop an industry plan for the use of recycled materials in road building. And the best thing is that the technologies that are used for the production of the main composite material, we have them, and they are one of the most developed in Russia, and we have them introduced in the industry. And some technologies are on the final stage of trial. And, well, I asked myself a question, and now I would like to ask about the experience of SIBUR company in this field. I know that you have a new product, Vevelen, which was presented as a universal instrument for the economy, or for the circular economy. So I would like to ask you, Dmitry, tell us how does your company see the development of the circular economy and your role within it? And what do you think about the initiatives which come from the Russian ecological operator, the so-called list of 28? This is the list of the non-processable, non-recyclable packaging materials, plastic materials. So what is, in your opinion, the potential of transfer to new kinds of plastics, more reprocessable, more recyclable? And what plans do you have? Thank you very much for your question. Before entering here, journalists asked me about the session. They said that it would be very hot here. I'd say that your first question isn't so hot. It's quite complimentary. Just tell us, what do you do? Because usually they ask us, you're a producer of plastic. Plastic is a waste. Why do you do it? So I like your question. We believe that plastics aren't a kind of waste. It's a very good resource for the circular economy, for the recycling. And if we think about plastics as waste, plastic is a synthetic material, and it combines a number of properties which natural materials doesn't have. So it permits you, it allows you to maintain the form of an article, and it has a very low weight. So when we speak about waste in water, in world ocean, it's plastic waste mostly. However, Russia cannot fight against plastics waste in ocean because it comes mostly from Asia and Africa, and Europe cannot do too much there. But in the last 40 years, we know that plastics consumption has grown a lot. And there is an explication for it, and the answer is that we see that plastics are more ecological. About 40 years ago, it wasn't so important, but if we analyze it right now, the carbon contents of plastic, carbon emissions of plastic, and these productions they are much lower than the emissions of other materials. And also the reason is that it's comfortable for the client and it's useful, and its use in consumption helps to preserve other materials. The growth of the use of plastic materials has to have to do with the hygiene of food, hygiene of consumption. For example, the use of plastic bottles. The main idea is to give comfy, useful bottle to the client, because you can drink a little bit, you can have it with you, and it prevents any contamination of the product. So here we understand that we create products that helps to resolve certain problems, and on the other hand, it creates certain problems, and we are ready to solve them, because those plastics, they become waste. It's not the main waste among all the solid waste, and not the main non-recycled, non-processed waste. But we see that there is a lot of plastic waste, and it's a social problem. And when we deal with our products, many of them say that we want to have a product which can be recycled and which will be recycled, and we work on it. As to the model of recycling, today we have one model, which is the mechanical model, when we take those plastics from the solid waste, municipal waste, and we transform one article into another article. And it's a very good thing that this line of recycling is developing and is growing, and producing new plastic bottles. We take those old bottles and simplifying the technology, we add them to the new bottles, and the content of old bottle, new bottle is about 50%. But we are petrochemical industry, and we work on offer new technologies which will allow you using thermal or chemical methods recycle the plastics, going back to the raw plastic material, and we believe that it will help us to recycle many kinds of plastics, or included those plastics which are stored with organic waste and which are unrecyclable for today, and it will offer new opportunities, new possibilities for new articles with a big content of recycled plastic. And coming back to our new product, our new brand, which you've mentioned in your questions, TVLN includes a number of examples, a number of products with recycled plast. We're speaking about plastic bottles produced with the use of mechanical technologies, thermal technologies, chemical technologies, and we also will produce polyethylene with the same brand, and this part of our production will grow every year, and we will multiply the production of products with recycled plastic up to the year 2030. And speaking about plastics, when we speak about packaging, the fast packaging, which also becomes waste afterwards, when we speak about the production of polymers, it's about 15% of our production, and the waste of packaging for food, for house chemical products, it's not the major part of the plastic waste. So we believe that there is a need to limit the number of products which cannot be fractioned during the reprocessing, and
временном горизонте 5 лет
For the next 5 years, we will have new technologies which will let us to use any destroyed plastic waste and reuse it in new plastic articles, new plastic products.
это была подводка.
Well, the main question was about not about Vivelen, but it was about your initiatives on the separation of different kinds of packaging, more ecological, less ecological, and the collection of waste. And I see
Называемых позиций 20.
that a number of the products which are included in the list of 28, they has to do with the extraction of plastic, extraction of this waste from the waste in general, and there is a number of plastics which are hard to recycle. For example, the so-called colored bottles,
Как раз многие коллеги из
plastic bottles. And
FMSG используют.
many colleagues of SSG sector, they use those bottles for marketing, and also we have some packaging which can be processed, but we still don't have those technologies. We have them in theory, but we don't have plans for recycling this kind of plastics. So we are speaking about the differentiation of ecological tax, taking into consideration a different kind of plastic packaging, and those which are harder to recycle should cost more.
Соответствующие статьи бюджета будут использованы.
And we will use the income and the budget for payments to the companies which will take the hard job of recycling of this hard to recycle packagings. I know that your company had different opinions on that issue, and we discussed it a lot. You said that differentiation was able to stimulate the use of certain kinds of packaging and give advantages to certain companies. So what do you think about it right now? Because afterwards we will speak about the extended responsibility with your colleagues. So what do you think about the differentiated tax for ecological colleagues? So we see it as something absolutely logical and absolutely correct. I mean, differentiated rate. We see that when it comes to regulation, these regulations always is a part of competition between different enterprises, different companies. So each country has a number of arguments to support such regulations, and we just want the regulator to hear us and to make a decision taking into consideration all the facts and all the opinions. We understand that there are some products which we produce, which we won't produce in future. Sometimes it has to do with economic issues, but today we also analyze the recycling issues. That's why the life cycle of these products is very short. And talking about other dimension, we do not do project which contribute to carbon emissions, and we understand that in future they won't be viable. So we are reasonable people, and we understand what they want from us. So the dialogue is the main reason for us. And another question I would like to ask you. Victoria mentioned the project of circular economy and the interpretation of that project by the government, the initiatives. We are speaking about the creation of a market for recycled materials. We have to determine in every industry the possibility of use of recycled products and fix in the law which percentage of recycled materials is to be used. You know that many countries in the world, they are doing it right now, in the European Union, for example, and in Russia we will do more or less the same, based on the initiatives of the government. So what do you think about this initiative of the creation of the recycled waste market? Because it will reduce the volume of raw material you're producing. Well, I'll start from the final part of your question. The mechanical recycling, yes, because it will reduce the original polymer. And as to the chemical and thermal recycling, and there is a future, in my opinion. There is no polymerization, and we see the reduction of carbon, and we see the growth of reprocessed material, and we are sure that the use of polymers will grow faster than the GDP. Sometimes it's 2 times more, sometimes at 1.5 more, but the growth of polymer consumption will be fast, and we see that there will be a market for polymers. And if we have this technology for reprocessing, for recycling the plastic waste, when we talk about our Vivalent project, about the contents of recycled plastic in our bottles, about 50%, we can offer another set of products, and we can offer a long-time contract which will take into consideration the use of Flexa, the reprocessed bottles. We have 30+ companies in different regions which offer another model of business with use of reprocessed recycled plastic materials of different quality, and those things there, we can combine them.
Now, Aleksandar, we carry on a series of unique discoveries at this session. Enhanced responsibility of producers, I think it emerged in 2015, or possibly a bit earlier. So the sense behind this is to comply with certain principles which were introduced in some countries back in the 60s and the 70s, last century, when we talked about the sustainable development as one of the concepts here is one of the serious messages is that sustainable environment, sustainable economy that has been actively promoted by the government. Proceeding from that, ERP is a kind of a tool that helps to collect, to raise money and financial resources, first of all, from those who produce packaging, for the purpose of the most successful recycling of these packages. But in fact, we understand that the recycled products are sometimes more expensive than the original product, especially in countries such as the Russian Federation. So in this context, we believe that without the ERP tool, we can, of course, achieve the efficient system, but we cannot launch the efficient recycling system. Even if we spend state budget resources on this, the actual process will not be economically feasible for the market players. ERP we tried to introduce it, but proceeding from this premise and proceeding from the current legislation, majority of players are trying to avoid financial responsibility that they bear in connection with recycling. So they don't pay these waste duties or otherwise. These payments are directed not to recycle companies, but to people who are not quite legal in their businesses. We know that Coca-Cola is one of the largest manufacturers of products in different packages. But first of all, we talk about plastic products, and you are one of the leaders in FMCG sector, one of the initiators of the association that supports the opinion that probably is somewhat different from the government initiatives. Victoria Valerievna said that in 2020 the concept was announced, taking into account all the negative and all the gaps in the legislation, and in accordance with the practice of the leading countries' proposals, the best tools were offered to promote financing of recycling projects. So we know that the business's attitude is business is a bit skeptical about these initiatives. They offer their own models. So if we translate it into figures, and Gaidar Forum is the economic forum, first of all, it looks, quite sad, I would say. We raised about 200 billion rubles as, paid by the population for waste collection, but we're supposed to collect the same amount from the second source, thanks to the manufacturers. But currently, from companies, which is one of the administrators on allocating these funds, we managed to increase this figure up to 5 billion. Thanks to the ERP tool. For example, ERP in Belarus is twice as more as compared to what we collect in our country. May I offer a brief comment? Aleksandar, in reality, the Russian Federation's task and our government's task is not to collect environmental duties and to fill up the budget, thanks to that. The funds that will be used in the infrastructure, it's not our key task, I should say. Our main task regarding the ERP is to create capacities within a brief period of time that will recycle goods and packages produced either by residents or imported or from imported goods. But it somehow did not happen. So what we are facing now, what kind of problem? We see that the businesses have failed to create such capacities that could allow us to recycle this packaging. And also the payments is only 5 billion rubles from this. So the government is not capable of building such capacities of such the relevant mechanism. So we need a kind of a prescription of happiness, that will allow us to build this, because we lost time. So right now we are facing the task in the national development goals by 2030 to reduce twice the burial of any waste products, reduce any waste. Yes, that's quite true. What I would like to add, we are now sorting even more packages and waste than what we are ready to recycle. As for the, this garbage and waste product ranges and dump sites, is also a problem. So, Aleksandar, please, the floor is yours.
Yep.
Thank you very much for invitation and the chance to discuss this important subject. I will speak English because my level of Russian language do not allow me to speak about this in Russian, but I understand quite well.
To English. So thank you for the elaboration, and actually I will start with putting emphasis on 6 principles which were mentioned by Victoria, in order to demonstrate how essentially and how in practice we are close to what is the strategy and what is the thinking of the authorities in Russia when it comes to what is the way forward with managing waste in this large country, which is, I used to repeat, it's not a country, it's a continent. So reducing waste is our first priority, and demonstration of this is constant intervention in lightweighting, especially when it comes to plastic, introduction of recyclable PET, which is already up to 20% in certain elements of our portfolio, and intervention in secondary and tertiary packaging, which is also something which is very important in putting the burden on the system. When it comes to infrastructure, I think that we are really leading the way, and we have a proof point with our initiative, which is already covering 55 cities with more than 10,000 containers, and also the project, the pilot, which we run with the city of Kazan, with the support of President of Tatarstan, which is project named as Kazan Zero Waste City, where we demonstrated that end-to-end, from the citizens to the businesses, authorities, the system and process can be established where we recycle 100%, so separate, collect, and recycle 100% of the waste generated. Education is also something which is extremely important because everything starts from the individuals. So there is a very strong stream which we introduced, which already covered more than 3 million people in Russia, which is about changing the mindset and approach when it comes to importance of separation and recycling of the waste. End-to-end approach. So involving everybody, not just in supply chain, but everybody in this country, from individuals to the businesses, retail, NGOs, all organizations which are part of the solution. And I would stress part of the solution, not part of the problem. And then something which I believe we demonstrate 100% is transparency. So everything which we produce, everything which we deliver, everything which is recycled is very much transparent, checkable, and visible. And last but not the least, and maybe this should be mentioned at the beginning, is recyclability of our products. So 99% of our product can be recycled. So what we do in line with 6 principles which were presented here is proof point that things can be done. Now, going back to your point of EPR, we're absolutely supporters of EPR. We have a proof points that things can be done. There is just a question mark about is what we are aspiring is wishful thinking or something which is doable in certain period of time. We believe that partnering with us as a system that has experience in this area worldwide, which is acting as an active member of recovery organization, we can accelerate this journey and we can achieve massive success there. Now, also, I will build on the point of Dmitry about how we see and how we treat waste. Primarily, we see waste as a resource, and we are absolutely supporting the whole technology advancement in order to make, especially the plastic, recyclable and reusable. I will just share with you one fact. We are using 20% of recycled PET in some of our bottles, which is 50% more expensive than virgin PET. So we are talking about multiple investments. All these principles and proof points are about investing in the better future. We are working with SIBUR on new technologies, and we are bringing in our knowledge and best practices in order to accelerate this journey. And my look of success would be to see tomorrow Russia as a net exporter of recycled PET, because demand in the Europe, leave alone Russia, but demand in the Europe and the rest of the world is so high that we can turn this to an extremely profitable business and at the same time reduce the cost of the rPET for the local producers. So everything which I said, I believe is delivering strong message that we are fully aligned with EPR approach. We are fully aligned with need to accelerate this journey. I will share you also one of my impressions. You know, I joined Russian operation 3.5 years ago. 3.5 years ago, nobody knew and nobody talked about ESG, about environmental, about sustainability. Now everybody talks about it, everybody is aware, and it's fantastic that it's on the top of our agendas.
But I'm afraid that relates not only to Russia, actually.
Yeah, yeah.
3.5 years ago, even the whole world does.
Yeah, I'm talking from my experience, you know, here, and I'm talking in a very positive context because I see acceleration there, and putting ESG on the top of agenda ahead of any profit, ahead of any other business KPI, which is important for international business like ours. The second aspect is going into the direction of circular economy. So we are international system, but I see us as a Russian company. We source 96% of our purchases in Russia. So only thing which we are importing is concentrate, and then some of aluminum cans, which again is reused Russian aluminum, which goes as a raw material and out, and we are importing it as a can body. So this is another opportunity for us to turn also this aluminum element of the waste to something which could be net export opportunity for Russia. So to cut a long story short, we love the progress which we are making in our dialogue with the government. We were really, you know, on the far ends. We closed last year, you know, being very much close to what is understanding of the way forward. It's still work in progress. We are absolutely committed to be an active partner in this process to bring the best possible know-how worldwide. And I will just share with you also one fact. Already for a number of the years, we have umbrella World Without Waste program, and we are leader when it comes to sustainability according to the Dow Jones indexes. So knowledge is here, support is available here, and we are looking forward to be trusted partner in this process together with our partners in production, in government, and of course end-to-end from individuals to every single stakeholder in this very important journey.
Alexander, thank you for your input. Виктория Валерьевна, с Coca-Cola переговоры переведены. Они в целом согласны с концом.
Victoria, we spoke with Coca-Cola and they agreed. Alexander, I'd ask you a question. We need some result from this session at Gaidar Forum, and I would offer Coca-Cola be a part of the first eco park, which will be created by the Russian ecological operator within the economy of circular economy. Is it possible? I do agree. Yes. You will have 100% support from our part. We will be the first business to support this initiative. Well, we have to ask SIBUR also, and SIBUR will work on the technology for chemical and thermal utilization. Thank you very much. Unfortunately, we are out of time. I would like to thank all the speakers. The discussion wasn't hot, but it was very constructive. Thank you very much.